Welcome to the Expat Edge with Marcus and Matt, where we answer your questions about becoming an expat to help you thrive abroad.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the Expat Edge. My brother Andrew from Expatriant is back again, and we're talking about how to get a job as a digital nomad. He currently lives in Zagreb, Croatia, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how he got a job working for a US tech company and living outside the US. Andrew, how did you actually get started in finding the job?
So it's a bit of a long story. It takes me back to when I lived in Ukraine. I was at the point where we started Expatriant, but I was running out of money and I needed to find something to do. I didn't want to just teach English or do something boring that had no skills, and I wasn't really into sales. And I came across this one job posting at Wix called UX Writer. And at the time, I didn't really know what it was. So I did a little bit of research, found out what it was. And just so you guys understand, whenever you use an app or visit a website like Facebook or Instagram, Google, whatever, there's text in it. And UX writers, they work with the designers and come up with the optimal text to put inside of different apps and software. So once I figured out what it was, I tried to make a little fake portfolio, and I sent it over to them. They called me for an interview, and that's how I got started in UX writing. I thought initially that I wanted to be a front-end developer, which I was also working on simultaneously.
Why did you decide then to do the UX design instead of become a front-end developer?
So that's a funny story. I actually quit Wix to be a front-end developer. It takes so much more time out of your day and energy that you don't have time to work or do anything else after work. It's mentally draining, I guess I would say.
Right.
And kind of not being understanding that I was going to a funeral. The day before my grandmother's funeral, they wanted me to do some project and they waited to the last minute to tell me. So I told them, not sorry, I'm done. And that was that.
Right.
And started the application process with the company I'm at now.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest problems in development is that you are a kind of a customer service person, first and foremost, right? Like your clients are maybe internal at your company, but you actually have clients and you're like almost kind of like a lawyer or a consultant when you're doing the work as a developer. So there's a lot more to it than just doing the coding that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. And how is that different then from UX design?
So just to touch on the development part, I guess it goes and depends on the type of company you work with. I was working with a consulting company like you described, but there are also product companies, which is what Wix and the company I'm at now are. And it's a bit less stressful. You don't have the problem of dealing with clients.
Got it.
And it's a bit different than UX design, just because you don't have to worry about, well, I guess that there's two sides to it. The first side is the work itself. On the basic level, you're still just typing for both of them and looking at the product and having to think critically. Where it's different, though, is when you're a developer, there can be software bugs that either you or someone else introduces into the code, and you have to sit there for, let's say, I don't know. It's hard to decide how long it's going to take to do, and you have to give someone an answer. Like they want you to fix something and you don't know how long it's going to take. Whereas with UX writing, you can look at the work and it's easy to estimate how long it's going to take.
Right.
I don't know if I just don't have enough experience programming, but that was my experience.
That's why I stopped doing programming. When I was in college, I took C++. I remember spending like 9 hours on this little assignment. I couldn't find the extra semicolon in the damn code. That was it. I was done with that. I was like, I didn't want that for a job. So I understand. In UX design, I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about this, and I've talked about it in a lot of other videos, that as a native English speaker outside the US, you have a lot of opportunity. Did you think the fact that you were a native English speaker helped you get that first job at Wix to get the experience as a UX designer?
Well, as a UX writer, yes. English is important. I think what was most important was probably having a portfolio of some writing. If you don't have a portfolio, they're not even gonna, and it can just be blog posts on whatever you like to write about.
Right.
But you need to have some something that you can show to demonstrate your skills. I think to answer your question, yes, it was easier to break into UX writing specifically, but at the end of the day, you still need to show something that you can do the job.
Right. And did you think having that experience in Ukraine helped you to get the job in the US with obviously a much higher salary doing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one thing that you should understand, and having a recognizable brand on your resume is the same thing as like
going to a big university.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Right. And so Wix, obviously a top company.
Mm-hmm. And just by having Wix on my resume, it's easy to land interviews and have people reach out to you directly.
Right. I kind of have the same thing with the law firms on mine. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into the UX design space? Would you ever suggest someone move to another country and try to find a job there? Or do you think it's easy to find a job in the US, or do you not know about the US?
It depends. I think if you have some form of writing experience, it doesn't matter if it's journalism or something, it's easy to make the horizontal shift in the US. If you have no writing experience and a pretty, empty resume, it would be better to go somewhere like Russia, Ukraine, probably in Asia as well, and find something there to get started.
Right.
And going back to the company, it would be very, very easy to get a job at any old company, some crappy gambling company or crypto company. But what you should focus on if your goal is to transition back to the US and boost your salary, my advice would be to look for a company that you've heard of, or one that has a recognizable product, at least in your home market, be that the US if your end goal is to get a job there, or Germany, or wherever your goal is to get a job.
Right. No, I would agree with that 100%. Having worked at international law firms in Russia, I had a way easier job of finding a better job in the US because they knew who I worked for. If I had worked for some little Russian law firm, then things probably would have been a little bit different in terms of getting a job. So I agree with that. All right. Did you find that it was hard to transition from working at a company with primarily Ukrainian colleagues to US colleagues again?
Well, that's the thing. I don't really work with many people based in the US. It's maybe one or two. Most of the people I work with are either in Poland or Mexico City.
Got it. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. If you've got questions about how to become a digital nomad, let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in another video.
This was the Expat Edge with Matt and Marcus. We hope you enjoyed the video. Visit theexpatedge.com for even more content that will help you thrive abroad. You can submit your ideas for video topics and sign up for free at theexpatedge.com. See you there.